This next set of commands that we want to look at isn't really an essential set of commands, but they are some commands that I like to use in my problems. We'll start off by looking at a random name generator, which I find helpful because sometimes my students learn the wrong patterns for a problem. Example I like to bring up with about this is, a student who realizes that every time Paul is in a question, I divide the two numbers. Maybe they don't know why they divide the two numbers, but that question that has Paul in it is always a division problem. So, in my opinion, the more randomization that we add to a question, the less likely it is that students will pick up on sort of those incorrect patterns, or patterns that don't really help them understand the math. So what we're going to do is look at some commands that allow us to generate some random names and place names so that we can increase just the variability of the questions that we're generating. To do this, we can create a variable called name1 and use the command randName, and then open and close a set of parentheses. In the question text, if we type in that variable, then we can see that what we're getting is a random name pulled from a list that MyOpenMath has created and is storing for us. So every time we pull up this question, theoretically students will be getting a different name, or at least it's very unlikely that they would see the same name for a person more than once. There are some options that we can add to this. For instance, MyOpenMath has two specific lists that it's created, a list of random male names and a list of random female names. So if for any particular reason you wanted to just pull from one of those lists, you have the option to do that as well. We also have the option to generate our random name. I'll leave this here in a comment. To generate a random name with pronouns. In this case, we're going to create a list of variables here. Name, he, she, him, her, his, hers, him, and herself. And we're going to set this equal to randName with pronouns. Now what we get is a list of variables where we can include those pronouns in a problem and have them update depending on whether the name selected was from the list of male students or female students. So we could type a statement like name1 is a student and he, she is in statistics. So using that variable for he, she now lets that pronoun update. Oh, I didn't name my variable correctly. Let's go back. This is just name now. So we just need to make sure our variables match what we created in the common control. So Tara is a student, she is in statistics. In this case, we pulled a name that MyOpenMath pulls from that list of female students, female names. Now if we're pulling a name from the list of male students, it's going to update that pronoun to be he. We also have the option to make those pronouns gender neutral. Inside that random name with pronouns set of parentheses, we can put inside a set of single quotes the option neutral. Now each of these pronouns will be they, them pronouns. And we can modify our statement to say name is a student and they are in statistics. Now in this case we're creating that variable, but if we're using neutral pronouns, then gender neutral pronouns, it's always going to be they, them pronouns, but we do have that option to include that for students. If we're looking to generate more than one name at a time, we can create those three variables and set them equal to randNames, and then input the number of names that we want to create. Now, anytime we call on that variable, name1, name2, or name3, we'll get that different name that was pulled from the list. And we can combine that with the rand male names, rand female names, if we want to specify pulling from the names associated with either male or female students in MyOpenMath. We can't generate pronouns this way, So the other thing that you might want to do is if you're creating multiple names, if you plan to use pronouns throughout the problem, would be to copy this line above. Let's say we were going to not keep those neutral, gender neutral, and then copy and paste that line or retype it and change all of those variables to name to, his, her to, himself, herself to. So depending on whether or not you need pronouns in the name or not, you can generate that list very quickly or do a little bit of modification to this longer set of code. If you're going to have places referenced in your problems, let's start with cities. So we could create city1 and use the command rand city, which would create a single random city name selected from a city inside the United States. We could also add the option inside here. We could type in a set of quotation marks, Canada, and we can generate a list from Canada. It's limited to just the US and Canada, but we can generate the names of random cities. If we wanted to generate more than one, at a time, we could, instead of using the rand city command, use the command rand cities and enter the number of randomized city names that we're looking to create. And similarly, we can do this with state. If we change that to rand state or rand states, we might want to think about changing our variable name, but now we're generating randomly the names of states in the US, or we can add that Canada option back in. Or we could again change this to random country or random countries to generate randomly a country. In this case, North Korea, Congo, Japan. So again, none of these commands creating randomized names and places are really essential to the math that's going on in the problem, but they add to the variability of the problem, which, in my opinion, might be your shared opinion, helps to prevent students from picking up on the wrong patterns and problems that might help them get to those answers, and hopefully instead focus on the math patterns that will benefit them more in other types of problems as well.